Breaking news, a fire breaking out overnight at the governor's residence on North Front Street in Harrisburg. We did have a photographer on scene. Multiple fire crews responded to the governor's residence at 2035 North Front Street just after 2 a.m. Several state police along with Capitol Police were also on scene. Harrisburg Fire Chief Brian Ennerline tells ABC 27 arriving crews found fire coming from the first floor area. The fire was quickly contained. Several people were inside at the time. Chief Ennerline says that's including members of the governor's family. He says they were all evacuated safely. Chief Ennerline says he cannot comment on if Governor Josh Shapiro was inside at the time.
Troops did an amazing job there to quickly contain the fire. There's some smoke damage to the rest of the building. We've turned the investigation, because it is a state property, over to Pennsylvania State Police for investigation.
No injuries were reported to firefighters or anyone inside. This is a developing story. Stay with ABC 27 for updates.
I'm waiting for updates, Eric.
I am too. Well, there's a little bit, like they've arrested the gentleman who.
What does he look like?
Oh, he's a handsome fellow. He's actually in our thumbnail. If folks didn't notice that,
I haven't seen that. But
you haven't seen the thumbnail? Well, don't worry. You will eventually. But he looks like this.
Oh, that's a good look. Yeah, that's maybe he's got that Oswald thing going on where he's just a patsy, and this is how he expresses himself.
I'm sure he is. Absolutely. He's got to be just.
Well, I think he's got a wife and 2 kids, or 3 or 4 kids or something, right? You read into this guy's background? Apparently,
I have not. I have not yet, because I'm running behind on it. I just saw his appearance. I said, "Okay, there's a weird looking thumbnail." Right,
but again, he is a family man. Who is got a wife and 3 or 4 kids. So go figure that one out.
He decided that, carving Teslas wasn't enough. I guess he had to go for something different.
Well, I mean, the coincidence to us is not really a coincidence. I mean, to have it the night of Passover with a Jewish, Israeli supporter in the mansion, and almost being burned to death on Passover night. The question becomes this, and I was at Eric just got back, but I stayed at the Trump, and now at the this was in Vegas. They have a permanent 24-hour police car there with its lights going on the side, because the guy's the president of the United States, and there's been other incidents. Friends of mine in Pennsylvania who remember previous governors were shocked to see that there's no police presence at the governor's mansion, especially with all the heightened anti-Semitism going on around the country. And Shapiro being, whatever you think of Shapiro, as a Democrat, he is a supporter of the state of Israel. He is Jewish, and it was Passover. I mean, Eric, am I reading too much into this, or what do you think?
I think that
the guy went through the window of the mansion.
I watched Dave Smith, and I think you're wrong.
Well, the point of the matter is the guy did not have protection that's normally given to people at that level, and was also given to previous governors in the same state.
I think every state, almost every state, to be how bad it is.
Yeah,
I think every state has some degree of police protection. I mean, they have a whole state police department.
He had nothing.
Some degree of protection.
Nothing. The guy literally went through the window, throwing in Molotov cocktails. Maybe I'm missing something here, because we were commenting on the Trump, how they now have the 24/7 Las Vegas SUV there with a cop, and I thought, of course, that makes perfect sense. But here's the governor of Pennsylvania. He's got absolutely no protection.
Yeah, I don't know. It's possible he could say, I don't want people around my house. It disturbs me. But even if he did, I think that the state would maybe push back on it the same way as Trump could buy a vehicle and he said, yeah, but I got to let everybody else drive it because I'm not allowed to drive. So there are certain rules.
Yeah, I mean, just a protection of your home property, to see in the middle of the woods or wherever he lives out there in that area,
Here we go.
And
Florida, DeSantis has a security detail.
no, everybody does. I don't get it. I mean, I don't understand what's the deal with Shapiro. But that being said, I mean, the guy didn't leave a manifesto, so all of a sudden he has no political agenda.
Well, hold on. We have to be very careful with the term manifesto now, because the Nashville shooter, it has been determined, did not leave a manifesto. I guess that's a journal. I don't know, but it was like it declared everything that they think about everybody else. They're like, well, wait a minute, it was written over more than one occasion, so therefore it is no longer a manifesto.
I just want to reach out to the people on the spectrum. If commercials bother you, please go to unstructured.locals.com. If you're obviously not watching this live, I'm speaking to you right now. This is in the future. Eric and I are now in the future. We're talking to you a few days from now, urging you, if you are Spectrum related, to go to unstructured.locals.com to watch this commercial free. And now, back to the present.
Here we go. And you can also watch us on that big green platform. I'm going to be like Jeremy from the Quartering, because YouTube doesn't like naming off other platforms. So big green platform that people use.
Whatever we're
streaming on.
I think eliminating the word platform might help. But that being said, I want to thank everyone who came to Vegas. It was quite a big crowd, Eric. I didn't expect
biggest we've ever had. It
was the biggest crowd in the history of meetups.
Ours.
I don't know about other meetups. I mean, they just kept coming, and I thought everybody had a good time. I tried to speak or give everyone a little bit of time. Hopefully got to everyone.
I think so. By the way, on that, while we're talking about it, I just wanted to let everybody know that who got a chance to go, or even if you didn't go, Leslie has started to post photographs up, and you can go to americasuntoldstories.com, our website, and on the events page, there'll be a link. And as she gets more pictures in, she'll keep adding to it. We're still waiting for some to come in. And if you wanted to share pictures with us, you could just email admin@americasuntoldstories.com, and we'll keep putting more and more pictures up there. There's also other events. So if you kind of want to click and just say, hey, what does this look like? What the heck's going on? What did they do? Who was there? Check it out.
There's some nudity, but most of it's been obscured by computer graphics. That being said, everybody seemed to have a good time. Barnes had a good time. Mini Viva apparently stole one of my hats. I think I'm not on to you, Viva. We're going to settle this later. Your kid's a klepto. So anyway, everybody had fun, and I think we lasted about 5 hours. The show, it was like from 5 to 10,
5:30 to 10:30.
There were people there at 5. Yeah. I dispute that.
Well, okay, yeah, fair enough.
We started to talk. Yeah. I mean, there were people there before I was there, for Christ's sakes.
That's true.
But nevertheless, everybody had a good time. We're going to do it again. Obviously, we don't know when, but we'll keep you posted. And now, back to the news.
Yes. All right. So we just covered our very handsome maniac. So let me see. While we're talking about psychopaths, we are in a state right now with this country where we have actual people celebrating psychopaths. And I don't know if you saw this, but Taylor Lorenz, who
she's got to be a deep state operative, a deep state psyop or something. This can't be a real person, Eric. Is she for real? I mean, where does she?
Well, she's been around for a while. Her uncle is the guy behind the Internet Archive. So every time something really nasty about her comes up,
he removes it.
Supposedly all these things get saved, but her uncle prevents it. But let's see how she does getting it removed from X. Probably not as well, but this creature, let's listen to Taylor.
Okay, go ahead.
It's hilarious to see these millionaire media pundits on TV clutching their pearls about someone standing a murderer, when this is the United States of America, as if we don't lionize criminals, as if we don't have, we don't stand murderers of all sorts, and we give them Netflix shows. There's a huge disconnect between the narratives and angles that sort of mainstream media pushes and what the American public feels. And you see that in moments like this. And I can tell you, I saw the biggest audience growth that I've ever seen, because people were like, oh, some journalist is actually speaking to the anger that we feel.
The women who gather outside court in New York.
So you're going to see women, especially, that feel like, oh my God, right? Like, here's this man who's revolutionary, who's famous, who's handsome, who's young, who's smart. He's a person that seems this morally good man, which is hard to find.
Wow.
Yeah, I just realized women will literally date an assassin before they swipe right on me. That's where we are. I'm sure you wouldn't like to be compared to a Trump supporter, but some of how people cannot understand why people have sympathies for Mangione strikes me as the same as a lot of media not understanding why people support Trump.
I totally agree.
It's because a lot of people are just really, really desperate.
They want somebody to take on the system. They want somebody to tear down these.
Okay, this is now a leaderless group of people who are latching on to any person that they possibly can. They've gone so low on the political spectrum that they're now latching on to cowardly shoot them in the back of the head in the middle of the night executioners as their leaders. That's my take on this. In other words, they're so bereft of any alpha male in their world that they're perceiving this guy to be their alpha male leader. He's handsome, he's moral, he took action, he's a revolutionary, he's the Che Guevara of our generation.
That's like thinking.
That's my take, Eric.
Che.
Right?
I kept thinking Che the whole time, but still, it just whatever veneer anybody can put on, it just makes me sick to my stomach when she's saying that he's handsome and I'm like, she's a Bristophile. Why don't you just go date Ted Bundy? He was handsome.
No, she's saying Netflix give murderers.
And that actually was an interesting valid point.
It's
because
not
Menendez
given to
brother,
them. It's about them.
Right.
It's not given to them. She said given to them. That's a bullshit story. Nobody's giving fucking Netflix specials to murderers. She is projecting that she would like Mangione to have the Menendez treatment Netflix special, Eric, I perceive.
I would not be surprised, but I mean, I had to address it because Taylor Lorenz, a friend of mine, Ariadna Jacob, her life was destroyed by that individual, Taylor, and she's such a nasty piece of work. I will, anytime anything about her comes up, it's like the world needs to know, because she
represents a block. She represents a block of people in that age group demographic who agree with her.
Right, and she has a very large audience, and I believe in exposing her as much as humanly possible.
We can't cover the Kennedy assassination, but she has a large audience, this maniac.
Sadly, she actually is a columnist for both the New York Times and the Washington Post.
But we can't talk about the Harry Carey word, but she can talk about this.
Right.
That being said, in the other case, we mentioned this on Saturday night at the meetup. Mark Garagos took on the new DA, Nathan Hochman, mano a mano in one of the matchups. I believe you ever get these matchups where it's a top attorney versus a DA and it becomes long term?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about historically? Yes. I think this is the beginning of a long term relationship between Garagos and Hochman. Because
I kind of feel like Garagos is a touch of a grifter, so it's perfect. To establish this narrative, this little war.
Yeah, I agree, but he's big game in LA. He's a big game hunter.
Oh, I know.
Grifter or not grifter, he is a big time performer.
Hold on, you actually, Barnes didn't answer me when I asked. I said, okay, so technically, he sort of answered me. But I asked, is Garagos actually a good lawyer, or is he another Gloria Allred? Because
he is a great lawyer.
Male Gloria Allred.
No, that's not true. Gloria Allred never goes to court. She pressures through the media and gets a payout before she goes. I have never seen this bitch in a courtroom in my life. Mark Garagos goes to war. He ends up with people in the courtroom. Chris Brown, O.J. Simpson, all the way down the line. He ends up in court, trying these cases. And his first encounter with Hochman was this week over the Menendez brothers. And Hochman said, they have not issued a full-throated apology. They have not shown remorse. And he went into this long thing. Garagos pushed back, calling him Cory Booker at one point. This was no, it was quite spectacular for an opening matchup that I believe may be the beginning of a beautiful long-term relationship in the courtroom, because not many DAs go into court. Gil Garcetti in the OJ case, Garcetti, the mayor's father, who was the DA during the OJ case, never set foot in the courtroom. Never set foot. Most do not set foot in the courtroom. Here was Nathan Hochman, our new DA, in the courtroom protesting, giving a reduction of sentence to the Menendez brothers. And when I got back yesterday, Sunday night, late Sunday afternoon, he held a full-fledged press conference with victims of murder in Los Angeles, their families denouncing the soft treatment that the Menendezes are demanding. So
Nice.
Hochman went the extra mile, and these victims were quite vocal about possibly releasing the Menendez brothers.
That's a good touch.
Wow.
That's
Tip
a
of
nice
the hat
touch.
to Nate Hochman. This
Yeah, well,
guy's in it to win it. He's not doing this for fun.
He's not incompetent.
Oh,
He
no, absolutely not.
might endorse shitty people, but he's not an incompetent lawyer.
Absolutely. This guy knows what he's doing with that office. Because you have to go public. Gascon, credit or not credit, never had a press conference, never answered questions, never went on a TV show. He just quietly tried to dismantle the Justice Department from within his office. Gascon, Nathan Hochman is now trying to rebuild it, the integrity of the DA's office. And to have this come out, this was something that Gascon created as a time bomb when he left to screw with Nate Hochman. The judge in the case said, I don't care that Gascon created this. That's not a legal position. And Hochman wouldn't back down. He won't back down. And look, they're going to have a hearing next week, and it looks like this same judge may go for the reduction of sentencing, which is it doesn't matter.
Because
I know.
Hochman is doing what Hochman is doing is he's saying, I am fighting for victims. So even if he loses, he's sending out a giant bat signal saying, I will tear you up. I will fight anybody and everybody, and I give a damn about victims. And LA, your residents, you haven't heard anybody look out for you.
Dude, it's shocking.
Like that.
It's shocking. You're absolutely right. I mean, to hear Hochman go to war over this issue, and look, I mean, you can make the argument they served 35 years, but that's not the argument Hochman is making. Hochman put up photos of the dead bodies, and Garagos went ballistic because he didn't warn the distant cousins who were in the gallery, like he knows who's who in the gallery, that he was going to put up the victims' photos of their own relatives who were blown.
Your family own it.
Right. This is your family member who did this.
Yep.
And Garagos went nuts, yelling that Hochman had no decency for putting up the photos of his own clients' work. 17 times they kept shooting them. I thought it was one or two shots. No, they didn't say that in the Netflix special.
Yeah, no surprise there. All right. Shifting topics. I saw this on X and I thought it was absolutely brilliant, and it goes into another subject. This is a hilarious use of AI. Somebody has brought Norm McDonald into AI to talk about the Blue Origins space.
Wow,
flight.
that's great. Let's see what this is. Wow.
In other news, Amazon founder Jeff Bezos is reported to be very happy with his new lady friend. Yet today, he strapped her into a rocket and blew her ass into space.
That's genius.
Story, Elon Musk is rumored to have called Bezos after he failed to murder his girlfriend, just to ask him the question, hey, Jeff, why do you and your rockets both look like a penis?
And it was well done. It
Well
sounded
done.
like
Very
Norm style, everything.
That's brilliant. Holy crap. I mean, we're not going to need these comics. Somebody's got to do Gilbert now and just have a whole Gilbert show.
I don't know, but I saw that it blew me away.
Well, I don't even know what that was. What you want to explain to me what that was with these 4 or 5 chicks in space? in these spacesuits with Katy Perry and
Apparently they
Gayle
went
King
3
with
minutes.
Oprah crying. I don't know what this was. I don't know if this was real, phony, a SNL sketch, Eric. What do you make of this?
I think it was just, one of those things where people go up and they float and they bounce around for maybe a little bit higher up in elevation. So technically they dipped in, but not everybody's happy about it, which just cracks me up because we have all these people bitching. I think you brought her up before. Olivia Wilde is crying.
She's not happy, Olivia Wilde.
Amy Schumer, boy, isn't she a sweetie? Look at that.
Yeah, she wanted to be the first
is
fat,
she Chuck's
big-faced girl
cousin
in space.
or niece? I forget. She's really to Chuck Schumer.
I don't know. Some distant cousin or something. Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, look at that. Look. Oh my.
God.
And then Emily, Richard, whatever.
Well, if she's upset, I'm upset. That's gone too far. I agree with her.
Olivia Munn.
Olivia Munn could not find any bad publicity that wasn't her friend. Keisha, I don't know who Keisha is, but
some artist, TikTok singer. So there you go. Anyway, I just am
these are the broads that didn't get to go. So they're bitter.
Yeah,
they're bitter balls.
Exactly.
Oh, that's weird. That's kind of weird. Olivia Wilde needs to go into outer space, and Olivia Wilde and Olivia Munn, both Olivias, boy, they very rarely fit into the same story together because that's weird.
Yeah, the war of Olivias. And while we're talking about superstars, we've had some criticism of Pam Bondi.
Oh my! Really? Other people are catching up to us now?
No. Shipwreck has been on it. We can't.
Shipwreck is an ally. She's the only one.
Yeah. So here's Shipwreck talking about it.
Good.
Pam Bondi is an actress with her own IMDb page. Pam Bondi, born on November 1965 in Tampa. She is known for Florida Wild, CNN Newsroom, and Art Journal. Florida Wild. Thought at first that she was maybe like a director, like a consultant, because it's based in Florida and she was in Florida. But no, they have her listed under the cast. She's in the movie. She is an actress in the movie. Then I thought, well, maybe this is an old movie, like a straight to DVD type of thing. She did it before she started all of this. And that happens, right? We had, a couple presidents do that. Current one, wasn't he in Home Alone? Absolutely not. This movie is set to come out in 2025, but there's no date to be released yet.
What? Held 3 young men after their dad had passed away in a tragic way. Finding their
Bailey Chase in it and Pam Bondi, but I don't know what part she plays. Like they don't have that listed yet. I guess this explains why she wants to see herself on Fox News all the time, making
very good Shipwreck. Very good.
Anyway, I saw that.
Also, that's beautiful, Eric. That's good. That's really beautiful. Now she's also being sued by Ty Clevenger, one of the great Texas lawyer, over the Seth Rich non-release of documents. She is being sued by the legendary Tom Fitton of Judicial Watch now.
And it's like, why? Why would anybody have to sue her? These are on her side.
These
are allies of Trump. And it's like, so whoa. Who in the hell are you working for? Or is she another? I hate to jump the shark, but we're going right into Laura Loomer exposing this, because is this another case here of Mike Waltz promoting somebody that Trump wanted fired?
Yeah, again, Loom, I read this morning. I mean, what is it? Also, I just read on the news that Hegseth has put his aide on leave for the thing with the Atlantic area.
The signal. The signal incident. I don't want to say signal gate. So signal incident.
Right. Signal incident. Hegseth has put his aide on. This is the only news. No name. I don't know what leave means. What does that mean? You go to the Bahamas? And I don't know. But it was about the leak. It was about the leak. And now Laura Loomer has stumbled again into this malfeasance with this story and security issues. Within the administration, she is not allowing the events of the first administration to be replicated in the second administration. God bless this chick. I don't know who her sources are and how she does it, but Godspeed. That's all I can tell you. The more, the merrier. And she has access
to her.
What's that?
I'm sure that they just reach out to her. I mean, she's in a position where they know that, especially Trump inviting her to the White House and talking with her, and then people getting canned. People are ringing her number all the time now. So, hey, did you know? Hey, did you know?
Trump probably did that intentionally so she could be a Viacom, a source or a tunnel to get to him through her. He's not that's a great idea.
Hey, you know what? Here's another term we can use to substitute. Somebody
Right.
said Seth Rich died of Arkansas. Another
I've
fill-in
seen
word.
that before, but yeah, it's a hip term. The Arkansas. Oh, we could use it.
No, I'd say we're always struggling
We'll start with
with Harry,
Arkansas.
Arkansas.
I like that too. Maybe, all right, we'll have to replace that. But yeah, I mean, there's so many things. How about Trump coming out on Truth Social supporting Douglas Murray? I thought that was very interesting. Very the attention he has to the anti-Semitism in his own party, which you have brought to my attention repeatedly, which I was not aware of till because I just got here. But Trump apparently attacking it head on, Eric.
Yeah, he did a good job quietly doing. Now, okay, stepping on the debate for a second. I watched part of another one with I think it's John Spencer. I think he was far better against Dave Smith. Now, I will say that a lot of the message with Douglas Murray, I'd agree with. I don't like his presentation. I think he did poorly with the he got very, very British, very, very defeatist. And
he is very British. He is very gay. He is very gay. He is very non-Jewish. He doesn't speak for us. Again, God bless the guy for at least trying. And Barnes does a much better job than Douglas Murray.
I agree.
Right. And again, he's not us. Give me Alan Dershowitz debating Joe Rogan. Give me Alan Dershowitz against this comic Dave Smith. Give me some real guy who's got meat in the fire, and I could take it more seriously.
Okay, well, Douglas Murray in general, I like him, when he's speaking in general, but on that debate, it wasn't his best time. It was not like the Monk debate. He actually looked more like Malcolm Gladwell than he did like Douglas Murray. That today I saw on Piers Morgan, he had this other guy, I think it was John Spencer. I have to double check it. This guy is an actual war expert. Like he draws plans, everything else. And it was laying into issues. And I feel like he exposed Dave Smith, even though if you look at the comments, it would be like, obviously,
again, this is like exposing Carrot Top. I don't know. It just doesn't rise to the level of me taking it seriously. You're debating Carrot Top or Gallagher. Again, the guy he's a B-level comic.
Okay, well, here's my problem. And this is why I think it's a concern. Douglas Murray did point out, I think he was right, that if Joe Rogan is platforming people with a message, qualified or not, he is amplifying a particular message to an extreme degree.
Absolutely.
And so
there's two separate issues, though.
No, I understand that, but it still is useful to whether or not he's qualified. He's now in the arena. Joe Rogan has put this guy in there, and having an expert going against him, I'd love to have Dershowitz or anybody else, absolutely. But I'm just saying it's amplifying an already bad problem.
Right, but that's on Rogan. That's not Douglas Murray's thing. He's on a book tour. Let's just establish this.
Of course he is.
This is a book tour. The booker of the book tour says Joe Rogan. He goes, "Oh, that's great. I'm going to be on Joe Rogan." And we're adding Dave Smith to torture you for 3 hours. He goes, "What?"
Bingo. I got
the
impression from James Lindsay
that
Douglas Murray was told, either you do it with Dave Smith or you're not on at all. And that's why he was that way.
What a cheap shot.
He was pissed off.
What a cheap shot.
About having to deal and debate when he just wanted to come on and talk about his book.
You come on and talk about a new book. You don't sign up to go up against, some comic who's never been to Israel, who's going to lecture you about the state of Israel. I mean, it's a little much, Eric. It's a little much.
Right. I agree. And I'm hoping, because a lot of times some of it will get back to Rogan, and Rogan will invite people back. As an example, Jack
Dorsey?
Was it Dorsey? Former guy on Twitter. I think it might be Dorsey.
Yeah, Jack Dorsey.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jack Dorsey was on Rogan and just, bullshit him and, shined him on the whole time. Tim Cook griped up a storm about it. And then Joe Rogan invited Tim Cook on, and he talked to Dorsey and Vadia, his lawyer.
You're talking about Tim Pool. Tim Pool.
Oh, I just say Tim Cook. Sorry, Tim Pool.
Yeah,
yes, Tim Pool. And Tim Pool handled himself excellent. If you've
Yeah.
ever got a chance to
By
see
the way,
that,
he's reading my tweets now on the air, apparently.
what?
Yes, somebody in the channel pointed out he's reading my tweets.
No, which one did he read now?
There was something about the fire with the governor.
Oh, that they're coming for you. This is what it count or
Yeah,
what
I forget what it, anyway, I thought it was weird.
Nice. Well,
Yeah.
we'll have to Snapchat
I'm talking about
that.
Tim Pool, not Rogan, by the way.
Right. Well, definitely not Tim Cook. Tim Cook
Definitely not
has
Tim
for you.
Cook, who I don't
or
know.
Tim Apple, as
Or Tim
Donald Trump
Apple.
calls him.
But again, if you want to have a debate among comics about Israel, I will take Dave Smith, a B-level comic, Joe Rogan, a B-level comic, and put them up against my two A-level comics who support the state of Israel, Jerry Seinfeld and Bill Maher. You want to make it level? Let's make those 2-on-2, 4 people, 2 comics about Israel. 2 of them support the state of Israel, and 2 of them don't. That's a fair match. But to ambush a British gay guy who's got a new book out, who's not even a Jew, coming in to promote your book is a little cheap. That's a little cheap. Give me Dershowitz and Ben Shapiro versus the 2 of you, and then tell me how that turns out.
Yeah. I mean, it would be interesting. Yes, folks who were pointing it out, I understand that Dave Smith is Jewish, and I think that's what frustrates a lot
every
of
one of
people
my
as
Jewish
well.
friends is named Smith, so that's
Well,
why.
apparently, it's a respelling of his name. Was
yeah, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. Just like Goldstein is Galiaski. Give me a break. I don't know one Jewish person on the face of the earth in my entire life named Smith.
Somebody saying it was spelled S-M-Y-T.
Yeah, could be, but his name is Dave Smith. I've been around Jews my entire life. I have never seen a Jewish person. You could maybe by marriage or whatever happens, and maybe obviously people get married. It could be your father's name or whatever. But I'm just saying, even Bill Maher, who has a name of his Jewish father, an Irish mother. I had the reverse: Jewish mother, Irish father. But that being said, Dave Smith is not a Jewish name. Well,
you can correct me if I'm wrong. From what I understand, that would make you technically Jewish, and Bill Maher would not be, because
that's true. That's absolutely true. Yeah, okay. He's not a Jew. But that being said, he's an A-list comic who supports the state of Israel, and I think would dismantle Dave Smith. I'm just saying, my opinion, and it would be a fair fight.
Well, it depends if he's stoned or not.
I think he could do it stoned. I'll give him 3 hits off a bong, and I'll give 3 beers to Dave Smith or whatever his high of choice is.
Actually, you know what? Let's put it out there. Everybody, start tweeting at both Dave Smith and Bill Maher. Yeah. Try to get him on Club Random.
Yeah,
because Bill Maher's got the perfect setup. Club Random. I would love to see Dave Smith on Club Random. That would be a cool deal, and the more people tweeting about it, maybe some other big names will catch on to it.
He hooked up with Kid Rock, and Kid Rock invited him to the White House. Now, if you watch Friday's show, which I did last night, he goes into complete detail of his encounter with Donald Trump. Amazing mea culpa on the part of Bill Maher about his complete misunderstanding of Donald Trump. Shocking. I mean, sending out earthquake waves across the liberal sphincter community, as he called it. And his own guest tried to attack him. Piers Morgan was on, and then some guy who was a Trump hater. And Bill Maher got into a fight with that guy during the show. But then he had Steve Bannon on. And Steve Bannon was excellent. I mean, a lot of friends of mine on the right were contacting me about the show. So I watched it. And it was right?
No, it was a full-throated. When Kid Rock came out and said that, you're going to hear that Bill Maher was very impressed with Trump, I was kind of like, I've
never seen him laugh in public.
Here we go.
But he does.
Here we go. I actually have a little bit of it.
Go ahead.
Let's just do that.
Including it himself. And it's not fake. Believe me, as a comedian of 40 years, I know a fake laugh when I hear it. And I thank you for that. Example, in the Oval Office, he was showing me the portraits of presidents, and he pointed to Reagan and said, in all seriousness, the best thing about him, his hair. I I said, well, there was also that whole bringing down communism thing, waiting for the button next to the Diet Coke button to get pushed and I go through the trap door. But no, he laughed, he got it. Look, I get it. It doesn't matter who he is at a private dinner with a comedian. It matters who he is on the world stage. I'm just taking as a positive that this person exists, because everything I've ever not liked about him was, I swear to God, absent, at least on this night with this guy. I never felt I had to walk on eggshells around him. And honestly, I voted for Clinton and Obama,
This is significant.
but I would never feel comfortable talking to them the way I was able to talk with Donald Trump. That's just how it went down. Make of it what you will. Me, I feel it's emblematic of why the Democrats are so unpopular these days.
Of course, important to note, Bill.
That was to me
Yeah,
the
that
most
was-
significant statement, because he not only
Yeah.
voted for him, he gave $1 million at a minimum to Obama, and he to say that he would not feel comfortable talking to them like he did with Trump is just,
Dude, it was shocking. The
Mind-blowing.
whole thing was shocking. He brought in all of these slights that Trump has said over the years about him on a single sheet of paper. And he said, not only did he laugh in my face about him, he signed the thing. And then he showed on the split screen, he held up the paper with Trump's signature and he read them off. You total douchebag,
Yep.
don't watch the show, piece of shit. Over the years. And this was because of Trump's lawsuit against him for saying that his father was an orangutan. And that was a bridge too far for Trump to go after his father.
and they talked about it.
They talked about it. Yeah, they talked about it over the dinner. Anyway, the point, and it took me a while to explain this to Dr. Drew a number of years ago, but Trump has created, before The Apprentice, he was hanging out with McMahon, and he created this World Wrestling Federation character of what you see as the blustering Trump. The public persona of Trump does not exist on film or in person before he mixes it up with Vince McMahon at the World Wrestling Federation and takes on one of these evil wrestling characters. And for me to explain it to Dr. Drew a number of years ago, I used the analogy of Andrew Dice Clay, who was an old friend. Andrew Dice Clay was not that character. He was Andrew Silverstein, a guy who grew up in my neighborhood who I knew, who was a very different, quiet, mellow guy in person. And people like Nora Dunn on Saturday Night Live walked out because she believed that when Andrew Dice Clay was hosting SNL, that was the real personality. And people tried to explain to her she had Andrew Dice Clay derangement syndrome. This was before Trump took on his persona as this character that he created, which was essentially what people were telling Bill Maher to no avail for the past 5 years, Eric.
Wasn't that Gilbert Gottfried as well? Kind of
do you
like his
Gilbert,
over the
Gilbert
top.
was like that. No, Gilbert was like that in private. I'm sorry. I have to
Wow.
tell you. No, Gilbert was on 24/7. Dice was a creation, and that's what Trump did. And when I finally explained it to Dr. Drew, who's shown me to be on Thursday, by the way, people want to see me with Dr. Drew. It's on his channel Thursday afternoon. But he finally got what I was talking about and began to see and listen to people who spoke to Trump privately, who explained it like Bill Maher is now explaining it. This is not the character that you see in public. Now, you can make the argument, what do you need a character for, whatever. That's a separate debate. The point of the matter is it's not the same guy. It's a character that you see partially on The Apprentice. And then when he gets into the political world, he does it on steroids. That is not who he is in private, and that's not who Andrew Dice Clay is in private. And I hope that helps to explain it to people who haven't
Trump
met
had that character on Howard Stern also.
No, he was kind of calm. He was kind of low key and calm, even on Stern. But the fact of the matter is, I mean, I met him once, and he was the same quiet guy that Bill Maher is describing. Talking like a quiet, normal person. The time I met him. But that being said, the people who have Trump derangement syndrome, which Bill Maher was suffering from, believe that's how the guy is in private, and that's just not the case, Eric.
Fair enough. But we got to call the balls and strikes or whatever. kudos to Bill Maher.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
actually not just doing the dinner, because he could have come back out and then just trashed him up and down. And he did open strong. And he commented about that, by the way, that the night before he met Trump, Trump's like, "Yeah, you were rough on me last night." And he's like, "Yeah, I was." But he did come out and he said, "This is who I met." And he told everybody to F themselves too.
The closest thing I could think of was Mort Saul, who was writing jokes for the candidate, President-elect John F. Kennedy in 1960, before he becomes president that whole year when he's campaigning. Mort Saul wrote jokes for JFK. And once he won the election, Joseph Kennedy visited him and offered him a job as a speechwriter, joke writer for the president. And Mort Saul famously said, "Not on your life." He said, "I am now the loyal opposition, sir." And Joseph Kennedy went about to destroy the career of Mort Saul, who, to his credit, said, "I am now going to make jokes against your son, who's now the president," which essentially was what Bill Maher said. Now, Bill Maher is not as fair or honest as Mort Saul by any stretch of the imagination. He's kind of like the drug addict version of Mort Saul, erratic, drunk, saying crazy crap half the time. But it's the closest I could think of.
Okay, by the way, we do have an episode on Mort Saul here. And if you really love Mort Saul, there's also a YouTube channel called Loyal Opposition.
Yeah. I mean, Mort Saul is essentially, I know people talk about, what's his name? Rogers, the political satirist, but Mort Saul invented comedy albums. Mort Saul was the first political comic of the modern era. Mort Saul was the first one to literally invent political comedy from a stand-up comic stage. And Will Rogers was a satirist and obviously did theater and things of that nature. But the real beginning of political comedy and most people would acknowledge this, starts with Mort Saul and his albums going through the roof, selling them millions of copies of Mort Saul records. And that became a thing because of Mort Saul. And Mort Saul later, not unlike Mark Lane, goes down to New Orleans and gets deputized by Jim Garrison to investigate the Kennedy assassination. So there's a lot of similarities between Mark Lane, who was not a comic, but Mort Saul and Mark Lane both got deputized by Jim Garrison.
All right. And while we're highest level TDS, which it's not coming up on the stage, so bear with me. I don't know why it's not sharing it. Hold on. There we go. This guy, Wisconsin, plotted Trump assassination.
Wow.
Apparently after he killed his parents to get the money to do.
Yeah, they cut off his allowance. It was $5 a week. And he said, "I can't kill the president on $5 a week, Mom. But I can kill you and Dad." Explain this to me, because I don't understand the order of the 9 angels.
I'm not familiar with that particular order or cult or whatever it is.
Where is this guy from? Does it say what state he was from?
Wisconsin, I think it is.
Wisconsin. Don't they have Clearasil in Wisconsin, Eric?
Ouch. Come on.
I mean, what's the deal here, bro? What is it?
I mean, obviously he has issues. I had acne issues as a kid, but
that's from meth. That's why I'm pointing that out. That's from crystal meth.
Okay.
That's
Wow.
my tip.
Wow. Well, he doesn't look happy. That is.
Well, he doesn't look healthy either. Besides that, I mean,
well, he's obviously not mentally healthy. You notice the shoulder pads there? That's the same thing Mangione had on. That's that is for the Arcicide vest.
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I see. So are his parents gone?
Yeah. So from my understanding, he killed them.
So he is the new Menendez brother.
Apparently, yeah. See, his mother and stepfather appeared to be an effort to obtain the financial means and autonomy necessary to carry out the plan.
Yeah, I think he wanted to buy what Ruth bought or attempted to buy was a Stinger missile. Apparently, they're all trying to buy a Stinger handheld missile launcher.
I don't know.
You could do a lot of damage with that. I mean,
yes.
I mean, if you know how to use it and you're in a certain geographical range, it's kind of indefensible.
Yeah. No, yes, it is. I mean, especially if he's on Marine One. I mean, it's actually a very scary consideration.
How about the helicopter crash the other day in the Hudson? Turns out that airline crashes, the fatality rate is 0.0002, and with helicopters, it's like 0.73, and it's 100 times the fatality rate of a commercial airline, the commercial helicopter industry.
Well,
100 times greater.
But that makes
Eric.
sense, because I always thought, and some people say they can do a back rotor thing going down or something, but like a plane, if the engines go out, some of them are able to kind of glide in to a degree or whatever. But I always thought that helicopters, like if it stops, it just boom.
32 dead in New York so far. 32 just from commercial tourism helicopters. I mean, it's just crazy. It's just crazy. I have no desire because, and most people in New York feel the same way. We've experienced this so many times in New York City from just commercial ones, that people go, I'm not getting on that helicopter. Are you kidding me? I mean, it's ridiculous.
I don't even.
I mean, that's what killed Kobe Bryant here in LA. The same thing.
I didn't want to get on the damn plane, especially coming back after delays. I'm sitting there. Okay, we're delayed getting on the plane to come back here. After all those delays, we get on the plane, and then, oh, sorry, we're delayed again. We have to straighten out or trying to transport some hazardous materials on this plane.
Alert, alert, alert.
Is that what you want to hear when you're sitting in the damn plane? You're like, what?
One time I was landing at Newark, and the guy had to pull up at the last minute from LAX because there was a plane. He gets on the PA and he says, there's a plane on fire on the runway. We're going to have to divert and come back around. So everybody's like, all right, that's weird. People are looking out the window, and we're looking at some plane that was on the ground on fire, having nothing to do with us. So he comes back on and he says, don't worry, we have more than 20 minutes of fuel, so we're fine. And I thought, okay. He circles around for an hour, right? And everybody's looking at their watches. And everybody's going like, did he say 20 minutes? And everybody's going, yeah, he said 20 minutes. He goes, well, it's been 60 minutes. What are we flying on? And then he comes on and says, we're going to have to put it down now, people. This is your pilot, Joe Springer. And I'm going like, holy crap. What are you telling people how much fuel you got, bro? It's a little TMI.
Well, you know what? That makes me think that their gas gauge is rigged like a car. You know how it says that it's E, right. and people actually know that, and they're like, oh, that means I've got about 30 or 40 more miles. I'm like, but it says E. Like, yeah. Don't worry about that. Yeah, you've got another 50 miles. I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. All right, let me see. We got a few super chats. Let's just talk about these. Pamela is saying happy Tuesday. Pamela's so great. She's always in here supporting us. Thank you. Grandpa has gifted 5 America's Untold Stories membership, but Pew Pew's not going to let that stand and has come in and gifted 20 memberships to folks. Thank you very much. Spinner Pete said, the key to watching Joe Rogan, only watch if it's someone you like. He's a blank slate to whoever sits before him. Look,
well, it's either he's not on some of his B-level comics. Those are the guys who fill in the rank and file all day. Now, that being said, you must see Alex Jones with Tucker from 4 days ago. 2 hours long, 2.5, absolutely riveting. Going over Alex Jones' predictions of 9/11, going over in detail the court case of Alex Jones, going over in detail his predictions of the future. One of the great episodes of all time, Tucker and Alex Jones from this week. Highly recommended.
All right. Well, this one is a counter for our talking about Trump and the character here. Keith Gardek. I get the whole TDS thing, but at the end of that day, so what? Why do I want a president who is playing a character? I don't get what we're celebrating here.
It's not a question of celebration. It's a character that allowed him to talk down to the level of the American people. In other words, he's speaking retard. And I say this half jokingly. He's able to come up with a system of communication that can talk to the common man. That's the character that he's created. And it's also the character he's created that could go toe-to-toe denouncing elites. So the character has many sides to it that he uses for different types of communication. Now, you could see the same version on the left. And the version on the left is, I'll give you an example, Hillary Clinton with a Southern accent and hot sauce when she's in Mississippi. That's their version of the same thing, Eric. There's various versions of the great communicator. Ronald Reagan would tell these long-winded stories. That was his thing. Well, mommy, we were there at the football game with Notre Dame, and then I ran into, and that's his version of it. This is what Trump created, like it or not like it. I'm not saying to like it or not like it. I'm just saying acknowledge it.
There's a term for that, and apparently in the Black community, they especially do a lot of it. It's called coding or something like that. I forgot the term for it, but yeah, with a different audience.
They showed Greg Kelly yesterday showed a tape of Governor Shapiro of Pennsylvania talking in Black Ebonics at a rally, saying y'all and this, and completely doing an imitation of Obama. It's startling because they showed him at the press conference after the burning of the mansion, and he was speaking like a normal person. He almost choked up. He was getting a little spilkish. Then they showed him speaking at this rally as Obama, and I'm like, holy crap, was that a bizarre character?
Wow. By the way, what we just saw is part of the reason that people are saying that it's very unlikely that Shapiro can run for president.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Look, when your supporters are burning down the mansion, that's not a good sign. That's not a good sign. By the way, speaking of supporters, Biden is going out on the stump tonight in Chicago to denounce Donald Trump, the tariffs, the immigration, everything. They're so desperate, they had to go to the comic book Tales of the Crypt to take out the Crypt Keeper and put him back out there on the stump on steroids somehow. They have nobody else. Wow. No. I did not see that coming.
I wonder what his rate is. I really do want to hear it.
He's got to get paid. That Negro's got to get paid. Let me tell you something else. I'm still sticking with my original prediction that Kamala Harris is going to run for governor of California, so much so that now everyone in California expects her to run for governor of California. I was mocked initially, but now it's just mainstream news.
I was surprised.
The pushback was surprising.
No, not that. I was surprised. I think it was two-way where they were actually saying that she's going to have a harder time than she thinks.
I don't think so.
So, and you feel like she's just a walk-in, and a lot of people feel like she's just a walk-in.
Yeah. She's got too many votes here in California from the election. It's massive.
Could Shanahan do any damage?
I guess, in theory, if you went in with guns blazing and money to burn, girl versus girl.
Actually, you know what I think it is? If she does nothing and makes no appearances, she can walk in. If you could get her out there talking more, maybe
she will do it the same way. The reason she's waiting until the last day to file for legally. That's what she's waiting for, to avoid any introspection or inspection of her candidacy. She's then going to try to eliminate any appearances. It's going to be the same bunker campaign she ran before, and she will win the governorship of the state of California. Hopefully, unless some celebrity on the right runs like a Mel Gibson.
That'd be nice. By the way, Finley Sallow from Rumble said, Biden been talking for 8 minutes now, a new record.
Oh, he's going right now?
I guess.
Wow.
We'll see where that is.
I know it's supposed to be tonight in Chicago, but it may be 5 or 6 o'clock there, so maybe it's right now.
Yeah, it might be. I didn't know they were going to make it public. I would say I want not only all of the money in the world if I was handling him. This shit is not public.
Right.
I don't want it to go out there.
Right.
This is going to be an intimate speech for just those who are there.
Wow. Well, I guess
everybody hand over your cell phone. No recording.
I mean, it's wonderful for Trump because he gets to then beat up on Biden again. I mean, it's in other words, it really is a desperate move when you're bringing back the Crypt Keeper to go up against a guy who may have a 63% approval rating, depending on where you're looking. I've seen it from anywhere from 50 to 60, depending on where you're going. The guy's operating on a level that he never operated up before. and they're so desperate to have a voice of authority that they've gone and dug them up out of the grave. Wow.
They don't have a deep bench.
No, they don't have a deep bench. That's a good point. They don't have any bench.
Yeah.
I mean, did you see, first of all, Coachella is going on out here, which is
God, the Bernie Sanders. I posted that earlier today on X.
The Bernie Sanders thing. Those people were so embittered, and Bernie Sanders is saying that they came for him, and every one of them said, "We're here to see these bands, not you, you freaking fossil." And they just said, "Get him off the stage." Wow.
It was beyond that. It's so bad. His campaign manager, some spokesman, whatever, released that saying, "This is Bernie's crowd," except Bernie was a last-minute announcement. So it's not even like people even knew he was going to be there.
So much bullshit. Called me from Coachella. I have friends there. Everybody here goes to Coachella. They're saying there was no announcement. This fossil just appeared out of nowhere. Now, they may have made an announcement on some planet, but not to those people at Coachella, Eric. That's what I'm saying. Not that audience. They were just going, who is this? How did this guy get in here?
You know what? One of my favorite responses to my tweeting out saying, why would somebody take credit for something that wasn't theirs? They said, well, every socialist takes credit for
that's funny.
The means of production.
That's funny. That's
I was
funny.
like, well played.
But have you seen AOC prancing around the stage at these rallies? She jumps around like she's on drugs, prancing and dancing. I don't know if there's footage of her from their oligarchy tour, one of the great tours. I think the Stones had an oligarchy tour back in 78. But their oligarchy tour is them going out campaigning based on this oligarchy myth.
We'll have to look for it on Friday, but I will say I've seen polling, and AOC may be primarying Chuck Schumer.
Well, she may be the ticket with Bernie Sanders, is what other people were saying.
Well, if he's still around. I mean, we're talking about old. I mean, it's like, you're going to trot out Bernie again?
Oh, did you see? By the way, Bannon said to the incredulous Bill Maher that Trump would be president January 20th, 2029. He's going to win a third term. And Maher almost had an explosion of his brain. And he took out the Constitution to show Bannon. And Bannon goes, yeah, we're looking at that now. We'll get around that. And he's going, how can you get around it? And says, no. And he goes, no, it's fine. He'll be the president. There's going to be a third term of Trump. You can bet on it. And Maher, I thought his head was going to explode.
That's what you call A-level trolling.
Yes.
They know.
Wow.
I love it because they know that. I mean, we're not. April 30th will be 100 days. That's where we are.
Mm-hmm.
The likelihood of Trump even running, this is so perfect because, obviously it's a constitutional amendment. It's already in there. And yes, everybody's doing the 3D thing of, no, he can run as J.D. Vance's vice president. I could give him up to 2 years. If he runs, J.D. Vance does 2 years, then resigns. Or I'm like, it's not going to happen, folks. He's trolling you. Everybody is trolling you. It's hilarious.
Speaking about trolling, did you see the Iranian diplomat stealing that $15,000 pen?
I sent that to you, I think.
From the Sultan of Oman, Eric?
Yes.
I mean, he's on camera sticking it in his pants. Now the Iranian Khomeini kleptocracy, Khomeiniite head has apologized to the Sultan of Oman in Muscat, the town of Muscat, Oman, where they were having peace talks about the Iranian nuclear plan. But the closed circuit TV.
I thought he was Islamic Republic. I didn't know that he was Iranian. Hold on. Are you sure it's Iranian? I have Islamic Republic.
The Ayatollah apologized.
Huh, okay, I just want to make sure that
Khomeini apologized.
Oh wow! All right.
Yeah, this guy, his boss is the Ayatollah Khomeini, and he apologized to the Sultan of Brunei, the Sultan of Oman. I'm saying Brunei. The Sultan is a Sultan. Yeah, you're a Sultan. Sultan's a swing. But I love that it was in Muscat, Oman, which is my favorite city. How do you have a $14,000 gold pen lying around on the desk? Is unusual. Yeah, this is about the nuclear plant, the nuclear program.
If they have more money than sense. So, yeah, they had actually a clip of him doing it right on that tweet. I guess it got taken out, but I don't see the.
Well, they admitted it and issued an apology, and he returned the pen.
Well, it's kind of hard not to admit it when it's right there on CCTV, and he's doing this like casual, little bit. Here, it was kind of like this, like,
yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. That's what it looked like. Nice try there, Iranian diplomat. Nice try. I mean, Trump's if he comes here, I mean, they're gonna have to glue everything to the surface, with crazy glue. By the way, did you see J.D. Vance drop that trophy the other day? It completely collapsed. He had like I don't know if you saw the trophy. Vance completely broke the Heisman Trophy or whatever it was.
Oh, no way.
Dude, I swear to God, the whole thing broke in half.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Yeah, it was awkward. It was definitely awkward.
All right, hold on.
You see it?
No, it's a college national
little title trophy or something.
Yeah, hold on.
I don't know what that's called, but holy crap, was that made poorly.
I did not see it.
Watch this. Watch this.
We will see it now.
Oh, hey, a little glue, please. Excuse me, crazy glue, please. Look at the little guy. Look at the little guy with the dreads on the right. Look at the little guy. He's cracking up, the little guy. Oh,
when
damn.
I'm going,
damn, motherfucker. What the fuck's wrong?
Why do you have to lift it up? What's the?
You got to hold it up, Eric, to show the cameras. Damn, that white motherfucker just broke out trophy. Damn, bitch. I don't even know. That was so awkward.
He handled it pretty well, though. He was like,
speaking of college, apparently Harvard not happy with Trump's threat to defund them, Eric.
Nope, they're going to court.
They're going to court. They're going to go the full Monty now.
Let's see it. Let's go.
Let's get it on. And then Columbia is now reneging. Columbia, who had agreed to to get the Trump money or the government money or our money, had agreed to get rid of the DEI program, but now Harvard has taught them a lesson, and now Columbia is reneging on it.
Well, my only issue is that you have Trump is holding back like $2 billion out of $9 billion. I'm like, go for the 9. Screw that.
For the full Monty.
Yep.
I mean, why do they think that this is a constitutional First Amendment right to get $9 billion of Hunley's money and people like Hunley across the country? No, tax dollars. Yeah, no, I'm saying Hunley's money. That's the name of my new show.
Yeah, it's a very small fraction of that amount.
I'm saying, but you represent the common Hunley, and $9 billion of common Hunley money, and people in this audience must go to Harvard so they can create and propagate anti-Semitic and racist programs to give you back the results of what your $9 billion in tax dollars went for. I mean, it's absurd. What is their case going to be in court? We have the absolute First Amendment right to receive taxpayers' money for a private university. I mean, what is this argument? I don't get it.
Well, I don't get it either, because I'm like, this is from a civil rights movement here. Just replace the word Jew with the N word and see how
I've been saying that for years.
I know that, but it could stand to be said again. And I think this is on point. He's saying they're pulling it literally because of civil rights issues and anti-Semitism. I think it's
this will be the first test for Harmeet Dillon, because she's going to have to represent the Justice Department as the head of the Civil Rights Division, which Barnes talked about on Saturday in court. She's going to have to go in there, and this is a civil rights violation. This is where this is going, and bring it on. Let's get it on. Why they think they should get $9 billion of American and same. I mean, look, NPR. National Public Radio is a government entity. Harvard's not a government entity, for Christ's sakes. They're talking about defunding NPR and getting rid of it. I mean, Harvard is saying, I don't care about NPR. Give us $9 billion simply because we want to make statements against Jews and cancel out Asians who have 9 million on their SATs who can't get into this university. Whoa.
Actually, I wanted to run something by you, because I thought about it. Part of the reason they're doing this is all the money they're getting from Qatar, Saudi, China.
Yeah.
What if, and I'm all for free speech and everything, but what if you made it a requirement like if you're going to be getting funding from the United States, you cannot accept funding from any other country in the world.
You know,
That a U.S. university
you can have an
cannot
executive
have that.
order and then legislation declaring that. You know, somebody it was somebody said the other day that the Chinese have 300,000 students here, and we have 0 in China. So as part of the tariff, the spirit of the tariff, make it equal that we get 300,000 Americans go to schools in China. You'll see how quickly they pull out their 300,000 kids, all of whom by law must spy on the United States. That's the law to get a student visa and get out of China. You must report, I swear to God, this is about 3 years old, this law. You must report to the embassy in the city that you're in, the Chinese embassy, and report what you've learned, whatever you've learned in your passing time as an American student to the Chinese embassy. Now, that being said, there's a guy, I don't know if you know about this guy in New Jersey, Eric, that they arrested the other day for spying. His name is Sushi John, and he's the owner of a New Jersey sushi place, and he was caught spying like 2 or 3 years ago and was put on probation. He was meeting with Chinese communist officials. He was sentenced because of as being an agent for the Communist Party, was sentenced to probation, was released, and ICE picked him up yesterday. It's a big story in the New York Post. The ICE people arrested him, and now he's been incarcerated. Here he is. This is a guy named Sushi John, who was arrested by ICE over spying. He had already been arrested for spying. He was already arrested and released in New Jersey. They cited him with violations of the FARA Act, meeting with communist Chinese, raising money for them, secretly giving them money. There he is. And now his employees are saying, when is the boss coming back? I don't think the boss is coming back.
I hope not. But I mean, it's sickening as we uncover the people who are here. There was a guy who was just picked up by ICE, I think over the weekend, who was convicted of doing things with a kid, and it was illegal. They then turned him over. He got a reduced sentence and was released right back into Northern Virginia. And everybody wonders why they give Northern Virginia to Maryland along with DC.
Right.
And they're finally getting him out of here. I mean, this guy is an absolute monster. You know, just like
they don't look at those. They don't look at those child things as the rest of society does. They look at it as maps, and the judges have used maps as a guideline. A minor attractive person. Right. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. You people are way off on this thing. This thing has gone so far down the road. You know, where they were contesting I forget who it was. There was the black chick who was just made a Supreme Court justice. I think she had a record of light sentencing on the maps. And I remember them grilling her about it, and she didn't really have an answer for it because they don't look at it as a crime.
Well, maps are the other end of why they want to have children able to change their their gender or whatever.
This is
because it's all leading to consent. The whole goal is to get them to consent. It's really disturbing.
It's very
we can't
disturbing.
talk about that too much here because it's YouTube, but yes. Everybody who has half a brain knows that. And somebody at one time mentioned hyperbolically that all maps should be nailed to a wall, you know, so people can navigate.
This probably is as far away in the spectrum of right and left than any other social issue, including abortion. This perception on the right and the left over this issue is probably the furthest of any political issue alive today. And I'm just guessing, but I'm going to stick my neck out and say this is probably as far away as we'll ever get. And Bill Maher was talking about how we have to talk to each other as part of his reason for going to see Trump. This thing is a bridge too far for anybody on the right, what they're professing to do on the left. And I remember, this is in the 80s, they had the gay parade in the Village in New York, and they allowed NAMBLA to be part of the parade. And that's a North American Man-Boy Love Association for people who don't know. And NAMBLA was in the parade for a couple of years, and then finally people got hip to it, and the pressure was too great on the gay parade promoters, and they had to drop NAMBLA. They only did it because they were caught. They never went away, and they're still out there, and judges relate to them. Let me just leave it at that.
Yeah, it's
not that the judges are in on it. It's just the social perception of it is 6 billion degrees different than conservatives or normal people. And I mean, that's
just
not
normal people, because there, you know, there's a ton of Democrats who hate it too. Yeah, no, this is.
There's even gays who hate it. There's the girl
100%
who comes on all the time, the lesbian against grooming. Gays Against Grooming is her nonprofit.
Every normal person is against it. I feel it's not, I don't think it's even political. It's
well, it is
insane
political.
I know, but you're either insane or not.
That's why it's only political, because of the crimes that they're committing. They're not getting sentenced because the judges believe it's political.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy, Eric.
Yeah, well, it's just like who's grooming those judges? You know, I
shared
the Keir Starmer image with you, with his buddy, former buddy, Jimmy Savile. So,
well, there's a Netflix special out that Douglas Murray was denouncing.
Adolescence.
What's it called?
Adolescence. Jordan Peterson thrashed it up and down too.
Okay, so maybe it's not very good. But speaking of cosplay, you sent me this thing about Kristi Noem dressed up as a what is she doing? I don't understand. Is she part of she wants to be in a movie with Pam Bondi? Is this part of her she wants to be in an action picture with Stallone? Like, what is her motivation here?
I don't know, but I mean, it's like, are you the head of Homeland Security, or are you America's Next Top Model? I mean, she's a very attractive woman. I'll give her that. But
look, I said this when she was governor. I said this when she was killing her dogs. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Apparently,
there's more to that story about the dogs. I did not know this. I forgot who was telling me about it. But anyway, apparently that was like a reprint of her book, or another version of her book. She had written it before, and the editor said, yeah, we can't have that, and they removed it. So when the people changed up, like the different editing staff or whatever, she insisted that her dog story had to get in that book.
Oh my God, you're kidding. I thought it was the reverse.
No.
That's sicker than I originally thought.
Yeah, apparently she really wanted people to know that, and I'm going. Wow. I understand, because we got a lot of flack, and I know that people on the farms, there are issues. If there's a dog, they're a bad dog, but you don't go writing and just celebrating and I hate them, and it's sick.
I mean, there's people who are opposed to them killing wolves, who eat their chickens. I've seen more pushback on people opposed to wolf killing, which I support killing any wolf. But I mean, putting down her dogs and then bragging about it in a memoir might not be the greatest political advice.
Exactly. And again, I support putting down dogs that, are killing animals, or they're a problem, or things like that. So
I'll just tell you this. Jim Jones has to move from Ukiah in Northern California into San Francisco with hundreds of members from his rural compound when they made the move in the early 70s into San Francisco for political power. They had to close up shop, and they had hundreds of animals there. And I mean, all kinds of animals, dogs, cats, cows, chickens, everything. So they made a giant ditch, threw them all in the ditch, 80 dogs, 20 cats, everything, and shot them all in the head and buried them and left. True story.
Gee, I wonder if that could foreshadow anything in the future.
No, forget about foreshadowing. He had Muggs the chimpanzee. Even as an adult, he had a chimpanzee on a chain that he ran around. He poisoned Muggs. He poisoned his own animals as a kid. Poison and primates and mammals was something he was doing his whole life.
Well, there's the triad of a serial killers, which people can argue about, but it's wedding beds, starting fires, and killing pets. Almost all serial killers have those.
How about that press moment with the president of El Salvador the other day, saying he's not returning the terrorist?
Well, okay, that is.
And he's not releasing him. That was well played by the El Presidente of
Well,
El
and by us.
Salvador.
No, they set that up perfectly.
It was
because,
perfect.
And I have a response to that. Okay. I feel like it's intentional. Now, if Trump said, "Hey, buddy, can you do me a favor and send them back?" He absolutely would.
Mm-hmm.
But they set it up beautifully because this is an El Salvador citizen.
Mm-hmm.
And what are you going to do? Kidnap him? And here's Scott Jennings with the take on that. I like Scott Jennings.
Okay.
The point they're making, the political point they're making, is quite clear. If you're a violent person, if you've broken our immigration laws, we're here to keep Americans safe. And our opposition is apparently currently organizing congressional delegations to go to El Salvador to try to bring illegal aliens back to the United States. It's politically
What about due process?
He has a deported states. It's politically crazy.
Scott, he has not been criminally charged.
So?
What about due process? That is a
order.
Constitutional right that anyone in this country
If you want to
has.
die on this hill, be
What
my
part of the
guest.
Constitution
It's
says
political
that? I
malpractice.
forget.
To send Democrat members.
Constitutional right that anyone in this country
If you want to
has.
die on this hill, be my guest. It's political malpractice. To send Democrat members of Congress to El Salvador to retrieve illegal aliens.
It's his senator from his state. He is from the state of Maryland.
I like that. Was my favorite line. It was his senator.
That's
from his
great.
state. That's
His
why I wanted
senator,
you to hear this.
His.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
They do not understand or care to understand what a citizen is.
No. Now, as far as due process, he actually technically, even an illegal or a green card holder, or whatever, does get supposed due process in a
How do you
crime.
define? I said this the other night. How do you define due process?
Well, certain things like you can't go beat them with the hose in the police station.
No. I'm
You
not
have
saying
to arrest
torture
and
them.
damage me.
But I'm saying
Right.
what the Supreme Court mentioned due process, and different people, Phil Hollow, other people are saying nobody seems to know the extent of the due process.
Mhm.
How much due process? How little due process do you get? Like,
Yeah, I
what
don't
is
know.
due process? You could say, okay, we checked his name on the list. He's got gang tattoos. He says he's from here. Bada bing, bada boom. You got to go get on the bus. How much? And that's going to be the ACLU's gripe. They're going to say that was not, I predict,
Sure.
they will say whatever the Trump administration decides is the extent of due process is not enough.
Right. The trap on this one, though, is he had actually due process technically because the deportation order had been given. He was he'd already been to court. They had already determined it. The only question was whether he went to El Salvador or not. Now, they took him to El Salvador, and that is an awkward situation, but he is a citizen of El Salvador.
How awkward could it be? You're going home.
So it's really hard to
Got a
say,
free ride.
hey,
Got a free
go
plane ride.
spit up your citizen. That would be like, what if El Salvador said, we want Mark Groubert, send him back? Well, wait a minute. He's a U.S. citizen. We can't be just sending him back. So the president could perfectly say, no, I'm not giving him back. And Trump just said, I'll defer to the president.
Well, I love the image of a United States Democratic liberal senator
Going down there.
going to El Salvador, demanding an illegal alien be given to him to take him to a foreign country.
This is what you want to do. This is
Good luck.
It is so great. That it's such great optics. That's what
I
you're
hope
fighting
somebody on the right films this entire event to use as a commercial for the next midterms, because this guy banging on the door of the president or the jail, demanding the release of an El Salvadoran citizen to be taken to a foreign country. Give me your tired, poor, huddled mass gang members so I can take them with me in first class back to Washington, D.C. Wow, that's a great photo commercial.
I agree. Please do that. Thank you.
I
That's
beg
what
you.
you want to do. And that's why Scott Jennings is right. That's the hill you want to die on?
That's a good one.
Please.
That's a good one, Scott.
Or as Scott Spicer says about different people running, where do I send a check?
Why was
Tim
Spicer in
Walz.
that audience today, by the way? There was a naval meetup, and Trump awarded him some job today. And it was, again, I think it's a Navy football team was there.
Well, Sean Spicer's retired Navy.
No, he gave him a job. He took a job from Trump.
Okay, good. What job this time?
I don't know. I'm asking you.
I didn't see the event.
He didn't mention the job. I saw the event.
Well, I'm sure that he'll talk about it tomorrow on two-way.
Oh, okay. So all right.
I don't know. Or
if anybody
at 6,
knows the job, please comment down below what the job Spicer is supposed to get from Trump.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not.
I could have misheard it, but that's what I thought I heard.
Okay, yeah, it could have. I mean, that they go way back. They're close.
You want to talk about this Austin Metcalf thing, or you want to do some super chats first, or?
Well, I wanted to get this story out and some super.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, no, we've talked about Gene Hackman off and on, and
this is great.
Kind of sad.
Today, yeah, there's hundreds and hundreds of rats, giant rats the size of cats, all through the house, all through the buildings. Dead rats.
Look at the house. They were slipping. They were.
Well, no. But this is after everything. This is after everything. But come on, Eric. That's not how they rolled, But nevertheless, she died of the hantavirus, but they found hundreds in all the buildings, including the cars. The vehicles had rat droppings in them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you say
the rats were putting on those dresses. I mean, I don't think the rat should be going through her wardrobe like that.
Okay.
Maybe they were hoarders. Maybe they were hoarders.
They were hoarding. I mean, this is hoarding type of.
I don't think he was a hoarder. I think this is probably the chick.
Well, I don't think he was with it.
No, he wasn't with it. He had dementia for 10 years.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's like
he was hoarding. Look at that. What is that stuff?
That's what I'm saying. This is hoarding type of behavior.
But what is that stuff? It's all cosmetics?
Yeah, it's cosmetics, different things like that. The clothes are piling up. They're not even, hanging.
Wow. This is people have too much time, too much money.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, there's no surfaces not covered.
Oh, and they had a number of buildings there.
Yeah, I mean, it's
I mean, what do you do? She doesn't go out anymore because of him.
And look at this stacked grocery bags all over. I mean,
you know what they needed was help. I think they needed help. Hey, I've got those too. They give them out for free at the store.
Well, apparently she was searching for COVID symptoms
because she was sick. She was sick.
I know.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh man, that's sad. You know what's so funny? They all know about hantavirus in Santa Fe and New Mexico. Apparently, these the only two people did not know about it,
or they just didn't put it together. I mean, I don't know. It's a sad thing. Just wanted to touch on it, and I kind of agree with the ruling that the judge ruled that there's no footage of them coming out because they look really bad. It's just
what do you mean?
The family sued, please don't release foot.
That's a no-brainer.
And I'm okay. I'm okay with that.
Now they'll definitely leak it out to TMZ because of that. The same guy involved in the Rust case is the sheriff involved in this case, so that schmuck will sell it to TMZ.
Well, Brett Girl, I don't know if she's working this.
Brett Girl's on the case too. It's the same crew. Let me tell you, anyone who would move to New Mexico should have their head examined, simply because it's riddled with hantavirus. Okay, you want to live in New Mexico, you're out of your fucking mind. That place is just overrun with rats. And they're not rats, they're like desert rats.
Yeah, pack rats is what we call them. We had them in Tucson.
Yeah.
We had them in Tucson. Now, to give you an idea what kind of creatures they are, because they're actually.
You have a picture of one, or?
I could probably find one. Anyway, they don't look particularly.
They look like cute little mice, like field mice, right? Or
yeah, but they're bigger and they're tough little bastards.
They chew at your private parts, or no? That's
they actually chew
wires.
We had to pay $600 to have the wiring harness fixed in a car because they ate through all the wires.
That's what happened to their vehicles. They're saying the police said their vehicles had them in the vehicles in the engine building nests.
Yes, they will do that, and they are they're actually relatively cute in a twisted way, but but they are so freaking tough.
Oh, there he is. Yeah, there he is.
They actually winter with rattlesnakes in the same hole.
They're friends. They're friends together.
Right, and then the rattlesnake, when he wakes up, will take one. So it's this weird relationship where it's when the rattlesnakes are hibernating in there, the pack rats are sleeping with them and everything. And we've seen it where we were like sitting outside and there was a rattlesnake, like up looking. I'm like, oh shit. Okay, there's a rattlesnake, kind of looking at us both. The pack rats are just running all around.
But don't they eat those? Don't they? Or do they're disease?
Well, they can only eat so many at a time. I mean, that's what I'm saying. They're tough little bastards.
Wow.
And it's a
virus rats. Whoa.
Yeah, it's a crazy crew. Actually, it's a good time for super chats.
Virus rats super chat. Yeah,
that's right. All right, Stephen Greco says, "You guys rock. I've listened to all your JFK videos. I love LBJ and his pal Jumbo. And where is Mothman? Also, how much did LBJ drink? I know he was a liquor rat.
He drank two quarts of Cutty Sark a night. Not a night, but day and night. But most of it was at night. But it was 2 quarts or 2/5. I don't know if it was a quarter or a fifth, but 2 bottles in the course of a day and night. And in fact, when he went on the road, when I say on the road, when they sent him overseas, he would bring cases and cases of Cutty Sark in case he ran out. And he would dismantle his king-size bed. He had a California king-size bed. He was a big guy, but nevertheless, he had his bed dismantled and put on Air Force 2, and just case after case after case of scotch, and all those lighters that he had with his name on it, cigarette lighters. And he'd say, "Now don't leave this in a bordello, boy. It's got my name on it." That was his line when he gave you a free lighter, which he gave to a Pakistani camel driver. The guy didn't know who he was or what the lighter was for. But he said to him not to leave it in a bordello because it's got my name on it.
Wow. Okay, I'm going to bring up this picture for the next super chat.
Oh, Patty Hearst, yeah.
50 years ago today, Patty Hearst robbed the Hibernia Bank at 1450 Noriega Street in San Francisco, saying, "Up against the wall, mothermuckers."
Yeah, she will also use that same gun spraying ammo onto, I believe, La Cienega in Los Angeles, when they went into she was outside in the van, but the guy who went into the Army Navy store was in there shoplifting some supplies for them, and the owner saw him on camera and confronted him and chased him out of the store physically to grab him from stealing the supplies in the Army Navy store here in LA. And Patty Hearst famously, and this was brought up at trial as to her aggressiveness with the gun, she sprayed bullets across the entire avenue to allow her compatriot to get into the van and drive off with the stolen merchandise from the Army Navy store with that same gun.
Wow. Amazing.
She's the closest thing to the women who were around Jim Jones, who became true believers. It is a brainwashing thing, and she was isolated. I mean, Sink-Yu did have sex with her. She was given sensory deprivation.
Well, hold on. He had sex with her before this happened.
Of course.
Yeah, she was part of these students that were visiting them when he was locked up. So
I don't know about that. I don't know if she physically went, but I don't know if she had sex with him visiting him in jail.
I don't know, but she established a relationship.
I never heard
she
that.
established a relationship with him and was like working with these other volunteers, I think in Vacaville, going up there and teaching and whatever else. So they had
I mean, she was politicized, but I mean, to the point of willing to kill for Jim Jones, in this case, Sink-Yu. And the SLA, very, very similar. In fact, Jim Jones in San Francisco donates money to William Randolph Hearst from the People's Temple to help offset the cost of the food that was donated to the poor people in San Francisco as part of the demands by the SLA.
Good times.
And they're all tied together.
Yep. There they are. And also, Jolly West. Didn't Jolly West testify?
Jolly West testified at her trial that she was brainwashed.
Let me see.
She was later pardoned by Jimmy Carter, by the way.
Yep. Along with the Puerto Ricans who shot up on Congress.
They paid for that pardon, the Hearsts, either in campaign donations or straight up something or other.
Publicity, probably, too. Steve from London. Eric, thanks for your help with that William S. Walters video. Hope you and Mark enjoy it. I think that's something I shared with you on X or said FYI for you to check out. Carlos Villar Gonsalves. Abigail Spanberger is the Democratic candidate for the governor of Virginia, worked for the CIA, new congresswoman in Virginia, running against Winsome Earl Sears, ex-Marine Corps, now Lieutenant Governor of Virginia. I'll have to start paying attention on that because I forget when the election's coming up. Feel bad about that. Spanner Pete. Why not a third or even fourth term like Obama did?
Or four terms like FDR did. The point of Bannon is this is a very recent change in amendment to the Constitution. And the Constitution, as he said, is a living, breathing document that can be altered throughout American history. And he was claiming they were going to alter it again legally.
Right. I sincerely doubt it. But
anyway, that was his rap.
No, I mean, there is a mechanism because I forget which the Prohibition Amendment was, but that was an amendment, and that amendment got overturned.
Of course.
So there's a example.
I mean, you could do the same thing with whip out the Constitution and confront Bill Maher about drinking, with Prohibition. I mean, it's a silly argument.
Well, the one thing I'd push back on is I would say, okay, so you are very offended with FDR then.
Exactly.
Well, no,
he's not offended. It's just not his guy. He would have signed up for a third term for Obama in a heartbeat.
Absolutely.
He would have packed the court if they could in a heartbeat. Every single thing is their childlike. It's good for me. And then when it happens to you, I'm against it.
Okay. Somebody answering about the helicopter here. In a helicopter, if you lose the engine, then you can still auto-rotate, glide to the ground as the rotor acts like a wing. Losing the rotor, it is like losing the main wing on an aircraft. No control. Well, that's what I said. I had heard something about it. I'm not deeply familiar with the aerodynamics. It's just in my head, I'm thinking, if it ain't spinning,
that's trouble.
You're dropping. But again, I don't know. Gary Johnson saying due process is defined in the Sixth Amendment. Thank you. And Soul Doggy is saying, what do you know? After 50 years of having to listen to NPR call Republicans deplorable, with our own money, Trump defunds tomorrow.
Yeah, it's kind of another shocking thing. I'd love to see or hear or watch those liberal suburban housewives get into their Subaru, begin to drive, and then hear Steve Bannon on NPR as the new host of NPR. You know what I mean? Like, hey, this is Steve Bannon here with what's the name of his show? War Room. Welcome to War Room with Steve Bannon. And they go, what is this? Where's NPR? Where's my bullshit phony stories? This is Steve Bannon with War Room for NPR.
I kept saying that I want Elon Musk to buy MSNBC and force Rachel Maddow to co-host a show with Alex Jones.
Well, I don't know if she would could be forced. I'm sure she would.
Well, part of her contract, you could say
she would go to court over the contract. But the point of the matter is, you could dismantle stuff. I don't know if you could force people to.
Well, no, you could say that we're changing the format of your show. Abby Phillips, the one who has Scott Jennings on, her show used to be her as a single host, whatever.
What about Caitlin? Caitlin used to be on Fox. The CNN one that Trump was torturing the other day. She used to be on Fox.
There you go. So
wasn't Megyn Kelly on CNN?
No, Megyn Kelly was on Fox. Then she went to NBC and got fired for blackface.
Right. Okay. So she was on NBC. She was on Fox. There was the intelligence reporter who was on Fox who went to CBS and got fired. Right. What's her name? Catherine.
Herridge?
Herridge, yeah, Catherine. Yeah, so I'm saying there are reporters who've been on both sides of the political news spectrum.
Tucker.
There's plenty of them. Tucker's one of them.
Yeah, Tucker's, I think, been on every damn network. He's been on CNN, MSNBC, Fox.
Look, it's a job reading a teleprompter, for Christ's sakes. I mean,
Herridge.
Really.
Thank you, guys.
What's her name?
Herridge, Catherine.
Oh,
Herridge.
yeah. Catherine Herridge.
So, yeah. You are right. Okay, so you want to talk about Carmelo Anthony, which Tim pulls.
I thought Carmelo Anthony played for the Nets. I don't know how Carmelo Anthony was involved in this particular murder, but now for some reason this whole story has caught me completely by surprise. This is the killer who, this is not alleged. This is a guy who took a knife out of his backpack in front of everybody, stabbed a guy in the heart, and killed him over a dispute over a seat, if I generalize about the case. He was then arrested. The bail was supposed to be $1 million. The judge's name is Angela Tucker, who I believe is on a sitcom called Blackish, along with Carmelo Anthony on the Nets. This woman, somehow, she's the judge, a sitcom host. And this is the victim, Austin Metcalf, of the murder. The judge in the case, another black woman, Obama type, lowered the bail from $1 million to $250,000, and the kid walked out with his crew. The father of the kid, they raised $400,000 on Give, Send, Go. The father said they're going to use it for lifestyle. They couldn't use it for the bail because they probably went to a bail bondsman and put down 10% on the $250,000. So there was $25,000 probably on the bail. And they're keeping the rest because they have to get a new house. There it is. That's what I was just talking about. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. This is insane. This is totally insane. He said he was going to do this. So the kid is now home. Just to give an example, that guy who stuck his tongue out in Hunley's thumbnail didn't kill anybody, set a house on fire, and is in prison with no bail in Pennsylvania. This kid stabbed someone in the heart and killed them. His father now bought a new home, and he's in it. Now, you tell me there's not two tiers of justice in this country. This is,
and by the way, we're not saying that the guy in Pennsylvania should be out. He should be.
No, I'm not saying at all. But I'm saying,
I just wanted to clarify for the audience.
I just wanted to clarify the fact that this guy didn't kill anybody, and he's not getting bail, and someone who killed someone got bail. If you don't find that to be disparaging levels of justice, there's something wrong with you. I mean, this is just crazy.
I agree.
And he's going to go to trial, and he's going to plead innocent, and we're going to have a circus show trial now.
Well, it is actually getting more complex already. Tim pulls in a lot of heat from the right because he's supporting the possibility of self-defense.
That's going to be their defense.
Right. Beaver and Barnes were talking about it last night. I didn't get through that part yet, but there are questions, and Barnes brought up that maybe the narrative got out there a little too quickly for everybody, and they probably, a lot of judgments have been made before the full evidence has come in. I
agree. There's too many witnesses.
So
there's too many people there, including dying in your own twin brother's arms, who's inches away from the scene, giving statements to the police seconds after the event. I don't know about a narrative getting out there. I mean, this is a tragedy that was well reported, well witnessed, well seen, broad daylight, people within inches of the crime. I don't know how else you can get closer to an incident other than fully filming it from 12 different angles.
Apparently there is a video too.
And there's a video too, right? Yeah.
So anyway,
yeah,
we'll see. I don't know. I know that Tim Pool's in trouble with right now because he said, hey, it could be self-defense, and people are on him. I don't know, but the whole Give, Send, Go buying a house is just not. However, it is shaking out. It'd be like, imagine if Kyle Rittenhouse, with the amount of money that was raised for his,
bought a Mercedes Benz and started driving around shooting a gun out the window. You see the pictures of this kid with this weapon that he's got in his Facebook phone? Again, it boggles the mind. The father comes out and says, this is one of the greatest students of all time. His Facebook page tells a different story. He's got like one of the largest rifles I've ever seen, some military, gigantic Arnold Schwarzenegger rifle, automatic weapon that I don't know what it was because the picture was not that great, but he just looks like another thug.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one, but okay. Next story I want to jump to. Sadly, it's a follow-up. It's somebody you know. Apparently, there are issues with Elijah Blue.
His sick wife is headed down and disturbing meltdown.
I guess his
there's no change in this story. I mean, this is what's the date on this?
No, it's just this month. His wife has filed divorce. She doesn't know where he is. And
well, she keeps doing this because she wants the money, and he lives on a trust fund. And when this is an old photo of him at the chateau,
right?
But the reality of it is, when
this is 2024, apparently.
Yeah, that's an older photo too. But the reality of it is, he gets at the beginning of the month, he gets a thing from his dad there on the right. That's Greg Allman on the right, and Cher on the left. But he's not living off of Cher's money. He's living off of a trust from Greg. And I don't know what the exact number of the money is. It used to be with his mom, it was about $5,000 a month. Plus, she covered all his credit cards, the bills. I don't know how much he's getting from Greg. But the wife is easily cut outable because he goes on these runs and she's got nothing. You know what I'm saying, Eric? She's somewhere with no money.
Right. Is it just me, or did he marry his mom?
Nah, she doesn't look like her.
There's a similarity.
Well, it doesn't matter. She was in the Child of God sex cult in Germany. Also, like, what's her name? Who was over there, who wrote the memoir about it, who was a Harvey Weinstein attacker.
Yeah, I know
you know what I'm talking about, with a shaved head. She was in the same cult, not at the same time, but nevertheless.
River Phoenix's family was in.
No, River Phoenix was over here in LA. This was in Eastern Europe and Western Europe, where they were being chased around.
They're all over, dude. It was the same. Children of God.
I don't know if it was the same cult, but nevertheless, she was in this sex cult.
Rose McGowan, thank you.
Rose McGowan. But the reality of it is that he is if he goes on a run with the money at the beginning of the month and there's no money left by the middle of the month, she's not getting anything. So she's suing for divorce again.
Okay. Well, hopefully then, hopefully he's actually doing well.
But if you look at Britney Spears, I mean, the people who demanded that she be free are now nervous that they may have demanded the wrong thing, including Dr. Drew. We're going to talk about it on Thursday on Dr. Drew's show. He's opposed to conservatorships, especially for Britney Spears. And I said, I took the opposite. I said she'll be dead within 2 years.
You may want to talk to him about that case too, because Cher's.
No, he knows this case. He knows both cases very well. We will.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
He knows the players in that case. He knows
Elijah.
Yeah, everybody knows everybody.
All right. Well, there we go. That some topics we can look forward to, I guess. I want to jump on a topic that I just saw. Remember, I said I was really shocked and surprised about the brilliance of Elon's move with XAI and buying X and everything. Well, if you wanted proof on how important what he did was, it just came out. OpenAI is trying to build a social network.
I don't know what that means, but
OpenAI is ChatGPT, the big dogs in AI. So you have X, Elon coming along with XAI out of nowhere, grinding it up, putting it together with Twitter, becoming X, and combining Grok and everything. And now OpenAI, who's the big dog, I think sees it as such a threat that they're saying, oh shit, and they're trying to build a social network. So they're doing literally the opposite of what he did. He got a functioning social network and built the AI from the ground up to consume it. Whereas
what I find also interesting is at the same time, Zuckerberg's on trial for his corporate life right now in federal court, being sued to break up Facebook and Meta. With the information from the whistleblower from 3 weeks ago, Eric, this could be very interesting.
Right. Well, that's why they've been scrambling to weld Instagram in.
Yeah.
Because he's done the whole back end to tie those together, because that's part of the argument too, is Facebook was the largest social network. I think still is the largest social network. And I think Instagram may be number 2. And one company owns both of these. you get into some scary monopoly territory.
Well, I think he thought paying $1 million to Trump would make it go away, but now he's apparently on trial.
And I'm sure that his comments about Trump are going to be less friendly all the time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We've got some other good news. We've talked about this before, and I guess it's moving forward. Hollywood is bracing itself as China is going to officially reduce import of films.
Yeah, this is it's the best news that could probably ever happen to China, to the Hollywood industry. They don't realize it yet, but it means that they're going to have to find additional markets. Now, that in a lot of ways, it reminds me of World War II, because the studios were still selling films to Nazi Germany. And they sold films to Nazi Germany, despite Nazi Germany eliminating people and artists who were Jewish from the films. I don't mean that they erased them. They just didn't take films that had Jews in them. Hollywood films, mainstream Hollywood.
Kind of like China not taking films that have black people in,
or Richard Gere, or others who were blacklisted from Chinese films. Very similar. And it wasn't until December 7th, 1941, when they declared war, that the studios were banned legally from selling films to Nazi Germany. They took it right up till December 6th. And these were Jewish studio owners who couldn't care less. They just wanted to make money. And this is a very
George Soroses of their time.
Yeah, they were George Soros-like, and this was a similar story to what's happening now with China. I mean, you've got Chinese influence, you got them banning certain things, you've got them providing a huge market. Germany was the largest film market in the world outside of the United States for Hollywood at the time. China is the largest market for Hollywood outside of the United States. This time, they give a lot of money. Half of the revenue from their screenings goes back to the studios. There's a lot of film goers in there, and they have rules on how to get into that market. But now, those rules are out the window, apparently. Maybe the best thing ever indirectly happened to Hollywood.
Oh, I love it. I mean,
yeah.
The sign's already there. Maverick couldn't go to China, and it made $1 billion. So it can be done. You can make movies without China being part of it. And
the travesty of Iron Man 3 still didn't make a dent on the Directors Guild. The Directors Guild has agreed to all of these things. It's not the studios. The Directors Guild has said, for money, we're willing to whore ourselves out for any artistic slashing, dicing, or destruction of our own films. They have voted for this. Shane Black's film, Iron Man 3, they redid the entire third act in China, filming their own. They filmed their own scenes now, Eric. This is way past not having a patch on your jacket. They film entire scenes as they see fit to let you into that market, and the DGA says we're good with that. That's how far this has gone. People are not hip to what's really going on. And I talked to Shane about it, and Shane shrugged his shoulders. He said, there's nothing I can do about it. And I just said, I would lose my fucking mind. And of course, he wasn't happy about it, but they had their own Iron Man in the same movie. It's not even Downey. It's another guy in an Iron Man suit. They created their own political third act. They built villages. The guy destroys the village. It's a whole different end of the movie.
Wow.
That's why I'm saying this may be the best, and not financially, but culturally and artistically. Maybe they couldn't help themselves, and now Trump is doing for them what they can't do for themselves.
I think it's great. Speaking of Trump doing for somebody, I'll close out on this. Be our last story, I think. Vivek Ramaswamy's lead in Ohio expands after Trump endorsed him.
He's going to walk in there.
He should walk in there. If he doesn't walk in there, there's something truly wrong. Because
I just wanted to get back to this idea of dealing with the midterms. Everybody starts talking about the Hatch Act, that she can't talk about favorite candidates from the podium, which I mentioned last week. People can come up to that podium and talk about Republican politics. It doesn't have to be that Caroline Leavitt is endorsing a candidate in a particular race in violation of the Hatch Act. The Republican Party is allowed to talk about their political races. I mean, that's insane. That's not a violation of the Hatch Act. And people have come up, even in this administration, and shared that podium, Eric, with her. So there's a way to do this where we don't have to wait to 30 days before the midterms to realize that the midterms are going on.
True. Or she doesn't even have.
I'm not saying she has to do it.
Right.
Yeah, but you can use other means of White House communication to get out your information about the candidates that you favor.
I agree. Well, let me see. Sean Lucan, before we go, gifted 10 Americans Untold Stories memberships, and we thank you very much, Sean. And MB with $1.99 in San Francisco during Jones cover Children of God Lost Friend. I don't understand that.
Cover Children of God lost a friend. Maybe lost a friend to the Children of God cult or something.
Maybe. If so,
yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that.
70s,
anyway.
There was so many cults in the 70s that it just boggles the mind looking back now. At one point, they almost, and I don't know how to say this, but they almost went to war with Reverend Moon, which would have been the greatest movie of all times, Cult versus Cult. I would pay to see that movie.
It ran into the 80s though too, didn't it? And
it kind of ran out. The church ran out, and they lingered somewhat.
Well, I feel like that was also the high point for serial killers.
Oh, that I don't know if it's
like
connected,
70. No, I'm just saying there's some interesting, horrible phenomena, and obviously,
but there was so many of these political cult groups in the 70s, from the SLA to the BLA to Reverend Moon to like we talked about with Synanon, the People's Temple. Maybe Heaven's Gate was a little bit later into maybe that's the one you think. 80s. Yeah, maybe that's the last one.
Well,
but
not only Heaven's Gate, but also the Japanese guy that gassed the subway.
Right. That was their thing. Yeah, that was their thing. But
that's just a cult. I'm not gonna.
No, I'm talking about. There was the Swiss cult. That was a good one.
Well, I think there was a cult mentality or something going on.
Templar.
Yeah,
but in the 70s out here and even in other places, I mean, it was cultorama.
Yeah, and what I'm saying is it's interesting because there's also a lot of serial killers, and both kind of died off a bit. Now there's still serial killers, there's still cults, but it's not all the rage. Back then, you had like you could pick a cult. You could be like, I'm Scientology this week, but I want to be Children of God next.
Look how many there were. Look how many of these cults. I mean, the most interesting ones are the ones that combine a church with it, and that's Scientology, Moon, and People's Temple. Those were the big three that hid behind the facade of a Christian church. That was a brilliant scheme on the part of Jones, Moon, and also Scientology.
Well, I also like the
tax exempt, Eric.
Well, that's a cool part, but there's some other ones that are kind of business oriented cults. Like where they've taken the MLM or pyramid, scheme structure and mixed it in with cults. Some say Patrick Bet-David. Anyway, no, I would never say that. But anyway, interesting phenomenon, and we'll keep this discussion going possibly into locals, which everybody can be a member for free on structure.locals.com. There's a link in the description wherever you might be watching this right now, because we don't want to say platform names.
What?
But we're going to hang out and see everybody there in just a moment.